Good evening. I'm going to call the regular Board of Education meeting of March 13th of 2024 to order. I have a 7 PM. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. First of all, good evening. Welcome. I enjoy a packed house. This is one of my favorite meetings of the year because we get to pass out some awards. We're recognizing some phenomenal athletes and some amazing teachers, as well as some of our amazing young students. So with that being said, Mr. Secretary, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Green,
Yes, I'm here.
Ms. Knox,
Present.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Here.
Ms. Berkmeyer.
Here.
Mr. DeRue. Mr. Moses. And Mr. Richards is here.
You okay? All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as it is been presented.
So moved.
Second. No, you do it. Now second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Moses. Call the roll, sir.
I'm sorry, say that again.
That would be Ms. Knox and Mr. Moses.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Richards, yes, Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. With that, we will move on to our Student Congress update. Ms. Jarl.
Good evening. At our meeting today, we talked about being recognized as Good Samaritan Day, and Mrs. Gonzalez shared some stories about Good Samaritans, and we discussed simple things we can do in our daily lives to demonstrate kindness. Next month, Superintendent Jankowski will join our meeting. I have the following building updates to share with you this evening. At Lighthouse, spring school pictures were this week, and for March's reading month, all grades are reading the book Lemonade War, and there are various spirit days planned for the entire month. At Lottie, March is reading month. All grades are reading The Adventures of the South Pole Pig. March 20th, the third grade student class will host a musical. The book fair is this week. March 14th is Family Literacy Night, and March 22nd, the students will enjoy a visit from Earth Rangers for an assembly and popcorn day. At Great Oaks, the fourth grade students went on a field trip to Starbase today. Last week was the school book fair, and Donuts with Dad was held the last week of February. At McCants, a book fair was held last week. Second grade students will have guest readers every day for March, and the fifth grade students will be going on a field trip to the SC4 to participate in the Challenger mission. At Ashley, March is reading month. All grades are reading Far, Far North. Book fair is this week, and students attended an assembly last week about the rainforest and Earth Day. At Naldred, last week was Family Literacy Night with over 300 people attending. The students are reading Charlotte's Web for March's reading month. The book fair was held last week, and the Spring Run Club will be starting soon, sponsored by Miss Bates and Mrs. Sinadinaski. Sorry if I butchered that. At Middle School North, students are looking forward to a pep assembly on Friday. On March 5th, members of the Student Council traveled to Frankenmuth for a conference, and NJHS is hosting a prescription eyeglass and hearing aid donation drive for the Lions Club, which ends on April 3rd. At Middle School South, there is a St. Patrick's Day dance scheduled for this Friday. NJHS is planning for their visit to ECC for an Easter egg hunt, and earlier this week, the Bridge Building students traveled to Grand Rapids for a state competition. And at the high school, JROTC is traveling to Dayton, Ohio for a drill meet this weekend and will visit the Air and Space Museum. Last month, student council members traveled to the state conference in Grand Rapids and won 3 awards. HOSA Club started Strive for Safer Drive at lunchtime, which an article was published in the Macomb Daily today. And tomorrow night, the high school will host a free career and wellness fair that begins at 6 p.m. There will be over 120 employees participating, and the wellness fair will have mini workshops for children. All are welcome to attend.
Wow, that's a busy update. Thank you. And pronouncing names is something that you can try to get better at as you get older, but doesn't work that way. Yeah. That leads us to item E, the student athlete recognition. I believe I have Mr. Yono somewhere out there in the crowd who's going to do this presentation for us. Is that accurate? Well, if it's okay with the board, then we're going to move on and we'll circle back around if everyone's okay with that. Moving on to item F, our kaleidoscope with Miss Elias.
Long walk over there. So good evening, everyone. I am so honored to be here tonight to help present this year's Kaleidoscope winners. A little bit about Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope is sponsored by the Michigan Reading Association, and their goal is to help schools select a deserving student within their school to become a published author. The process is that any student in the school can submit a piece of writing. And so the principals and teachers will encourage all students to submit any genre of writing. They'll gather all those samples together, and then they'll put together a committee to judge the student writing and select one very deserving winner. We have a long history of participating in Kaleidoscope from as far back. I mean, when I started here in 2002, we were participating in Kaleidoscope. So MRA has been bringing this to us for many, many years, and we're very excited always to bring and introduce our new authors. So at this time, I would like to have the principal and the teacher, if they're here, and our authors come up over here, and we're going to let them be introduced, talk maybe a little bit about their writing. And if our students would like to make some of their own personal comments, we would love to hear those. All right.
Hey, hi, I'm Mrs. Jarzombek, and this is Holly Tokars, a 3rd grader at Naldrit Elementary. Holly's writing piece, called The Haunted Mansion, stood out to me because of her creative usage of sensory details and impressive vocabulary. I'd like to share a paragraph from her work. The floor collapsed to reveal obsidian pillars rising from a pool of lava. I jumped to the first pillar. Why am I sinking? I wondered. I leaped to the second pillar. Do they all sink? I thought. I repeated the process until I saw some odd tiles. I jumped on one. They all went invisible. I jumped back to the platform and they reappeared. I gasped. Memory games. I'm horrible at them, but I'll try. She is a wonderful student, a hard worker, and always gives her best effort. Keep up the great work, and I'm so proud of you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ms. Benchley, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Great Oaks, and our winner is Taylor Spot. She wrote a shape poem called The Tree, and when she wrote this poem, she made a connection to going Christmas tree shopping with her family. And the reason that I selected her poem for submission was that, of course, she had, like, she painted picture in her mind, but more so, I think she painted a picture in my heart that I could feel what it felt like to do that just based on her poem. So I'm very proud of her and all that she's accomplished in her time at Great Oaks. So congratulations.
Excuse me, Mr. Medley, before we move on, I've got some certificates I want to hand out individually to the students after you announce them.
Sure.
So I'm going to circle back to Holly and to Taylor and ask them to meet me up here on the stage and I can hand their certificates. Parents, please get out of your seats and come take pictures. Do not take them from back there. Come up here. That's why you're here.
Do
And
you want to
then
back up and
have your student come up on the stage after that, and the entire board will get in with the picture after that.
okay.
So I'm looking for Holly again, sorry. Come on up. Where are the bright lights? Finally. There you go. For the picture. There we go. Well,
Pardon? Oh, no, I was with Taylor, so, so,
I'll have to circle back.
yeah, I just wanted to add on just real quick, just, as a staff, we kind of, when we get all the teachers, kind of like, Ms. Benchley put it perfectly with Taylor's submission, but then we kind of anonymously put them all together with the staff and just kind of which one, kind of calls to the teachers and just what kind of stood out about hers this year is just the creativity. And I don't think we've ever had a poem when, before too. So it's just great seeing something so original and so creative. We just really enjoyed it. So great job, Taylor. Thank you. So.
I'm Mrs. White. I'm the principal at Lottie Schmidt Elementary, and this is Nolan Armstrong. He's a fifth grade student in Mrs. Rogers' class, and unfortunately, Mrs. Rogers couldn't come tonight. And she really was sad that she was going to miss it because this is an outstanding student. Not only is he a great writer, but he's also an all-around great kid, a great leader in our school. So we were really, really happy when his piece was chosen. Like the other schools, a whole bunch of submissions came in and we looked at all of them, but we cover up the names so nobody knows whose it is. And his, by a long shot, was chosen. And when I was talking to some of the teachers about the reason why, it was because he kind of, it's called the Great State Game. And it was the excitement of going to a game. And he kind of built up that excitement and just the word choice that he used, you felt like you were there. Or if you had something exciting you had done, you could totally relate to it. So it was just really, really well written. But I do have a question for you. Have you attended a game since then?
No, I haven't.
No, so that's still a dream of yours?
Yeah.
Because that was the last thing he said. He would love to go back there. Maybe even go to college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did a nice job. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sherry Hoffman, principal at Lighthouse, and I have Mrs. Anne Marie Evans, who is our third grade teacher, and our Kaleidoscope winner for Lighthouse is Vincent Valente. And his piece was titled "The Time I Went to Traverse City." And as you can imagine, it made all of us think about summer and vacations. His piece was selected because of his attention to detail and his clear thoughts and ideas. And that's exactly what we want as a writer. And he did a phenomenal job. So he's a great student. We're super proud of him and keep up the good work. So good job. Mhm.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Polyzois from Middle School South, and this is Savannah Buckby, a 7th grader who wrote a piece of writing about a very sad topic, the loss of her great-grandmother, which definitely pulled at my heartstrings. Although it was quite a sad topic, it was also very beautifully written, lots of vivid details, imagery throughout. She truly spoke from her heart, and I could feel that. So great job. I encourage you to always write, okay? And you know that Nana's looking down on you, and she's very proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Carmela from McCons Elementary, and the student who won Kaleidoscope for my class is Mason Culver. He wrote a very short story called The Cabin, and his piece was selected not only from me, but the teachers who selected it for all the descriptive detail that he put into his writing. They had time to write a piece of just whatever they chose from their imagination or real life. And his story really stood out, like you felt like you were there with the characters from what he wrote. And I'm very proud of him.
Hello, I am here on behalf of Mr. Teedy and Mrs. Breeze. Unfortunately, they could not be here, so I get the great pleasure of introducing our winning author from Middle School North. Mr. Teedy wanted me to make sure we had a special message, so he sent it to me. So Anchor Bay is proud to present Kylie Garber as our 2023-24 Kaleidoscope winner. Mrs. Breeze nominated Kylie for her writing piece titled, I Can't Go Back. Kylie is a wonderful student in Mrs. Bree's 6-hour journalism class last semester. In her writing, she talks about how painful it is to deal with the loss of a loved one. Her writing was published in the Kaleidoscope magazine. Great job, Kylie. You are a great sailor. Thank you.
Hello, I am Mrs. Mitchell from Ashley, and I have Peyton Lynch. She is a 4th grade student, and she wrote a wonderful story called Spot's Adventure in Space. The kids were given the opportunity to write about whatever they wanted to, whether it was a real story or a made-up story. And she did a wonderful job. She added great detail, very creative. I've seen her writing improve so much and her love of writing improve so much from the beginning of the year to now. And I am just so proud of her and yeah.
Just to let everyone know, at Ashley Elementary, we had many, many candidates who submitted their writing. And at Ashley, we do it a little bit differently. We have all aspects, all staff members take a piece and look at the writing. And overwhelmingly, Peyton won just for her creativity and also for just her increased ability to use her words on paper. So we're very proud at Ashley of Peyton Lynch.
Thank you.
So thank you to the students and my teachers that are here, and certainly the principals that are helping cover some of their staff that may not have been able to make it. Has Jacob made it in the building yet? You're on.
Well, good evening, Board and Superintendent Jankowski. I'm Jacob Yona. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director at the high school. And I just want to say what an incredible honor it is for me to be able to recognize student athlete Thomas Westfall here. So what I will say is that the number of accomplishments that Thomas has been able to accomplish at the high school and the number of adjectives, both are probably innumerable. So we can go on and on about describing some of his traits and what allowed him to accomplish what he was able to accomplish. But I will say, just so the background that you have on Thomas, he's a cross country and a track and field runner here at the high school. And so if we can pinpoint on just a single trait that makes Thomas what he is, and he's not going to like that I say this, but it's his humility. Nobody accomplishes as much as he had without his humility. Some of his achievements have included, competing at the state level, the international level. As most recent accomplishment was being the Foot Locker champion, seeing the state competition 4 years in a row for both of his sports was incredible. And what Thomas embodies is really everything that our mission is in our athletic department, that's competing at the highest level, but most importantly, excellence in the classroom, in your sport, and in everything that you do. So Thomas, you're an amazing student athlete, but more importantly, you're an amazing person. So we'd like to get a photo with the board and a thank you for everything that you've done for our high school. Go green, but forever go Tars. All right. Thank you, Thomas.
I don't seem to have one. Thank you, Mr. Westfall. It's been awesome to watch you excel throughout your years at the high school. I will not support the Go Green that I heard come out. But that's a whole nother discussion. We're going to go into our Teacher of the Year awards, and then we're going to take a short break after that for anyone who wants to slide out or needs to slide out and doesn't want to do it while everyone's watching them. So that brings us to Ms. Gonzalez, our Director of HR.
It is an honor and a privilege to be here this evening to present to you the Teachers of the Year. These teachers have been recognized by their peers for their teaching excellence. I'm going to start with Mr. Joseph Zuccaro from Anchor Bay High School. Stand up. Okay, head on up there. Okay. So Mr. Zuccaro joined us as a teacher in 2017. He teaches economics and intro to law. He coaches, he is the head freshman football coach. He is the head varsity hockey coach, and he is the assistant varsity baseball coach. And if athletics were not enough, Mr. Zuccaro also volunteers his time at school functions, including school dances and other events. Recently, the high school conducted a silent mentoring survey, and students were given the task to select which teacher or teachers have had a positive impact in their high school experience. Mr. Zuccaro was mentioned numerous times, and his impact was made obvious by this data collection. He builds strong relationships with students, mentoring many student athletes, and he extends that relationship to the home by constantly and consistently communicating with parents. This translates to the classroom very well. His strong relationships allows for a comfortable learning environment, which sets up for many engaging learning opportunities. One of Mr. Zuccaro's students describes him as an amazing coach and teacher. He goes on to say that he treats everyone as he would want to be treated and creates a calm and comfortable environment for all of his students. Please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Joe Zuccaro, Anchor Bay High School Teacher of the Year. Yeah. So. Yeah. Next, I'd like to recognize Julie Sheridan, our Middle School Teacher of the Year. I'll try. Ms. Sheridan started with Anchor Bay as a literacy tutor, and in 2003 started as an elementary school teacher. For the start of the 2014-2015 school year, she moved to the middle school where she taught Project Lead the Way, STEM classes. She was also a math teacher there. A couple years ago, there was a shared vision for a makerspace classroom. Julie took on the challenge and has built a classroom of inclusion and wondrous achievement by her students. If a student can dream it, she helps them achieve it. When needed, she enlists the help of community members and other Anchor Bay staff. Julie puts her relationships with students first and realizes that relationships are more important than content. She understands the importance of being flexible when it is needed to help a student achieve academic success. She sponsors the Green Team and Bridge Building, and they just returned from Grand Rapids just today, or today was her first day back. One of her students recently wrote that Miss Sheridan is fun and lets students walk around when they need to move. She tries to help with problems. When students make mistakes, she never gets mad. She is always very understanding. She doesn't allow others to be mean, and she works hard with all students. Please join me in a round of applause for Julie Sheridan, Anchor Bay Middle School of the Year. Next, I'd like to bring up Anna Bergeron. She's a 5th grade teacher at Ashley Elementary, and she's our Elementary Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Bergeron holds several leadership roles not only in her building, but within the Anchor Bay School District. She is working as a leading pathfinder, transitioning to competency-based learning. She has not only led and guided in the realignment of standards-based curriculum for the 5th grade, but has also motivated educators around her to take interest in the philosophical change we are embarking on. Mrs. Bergeron's classroom was selected as an exemplary model and served as a guide to the ABS administrative team for the competency-based education classroom execution. She has received positive feedback from Mr. Joseph, our CBD consultant, on her leadership qualities. Mrs. Bergeron has opened her classroom and has had over 15 visits from district teachers. She has provided them with motivation, answered questions, and has even begun to correspond with several over email, as her momentum has been contagious. Mrs. Bergeron served as the summer school coordinator for 2 consecutive years. She maintains ambitious standards, building and scheduling organization, and guiding all safety and transportation protocols. Her organization and community hospitality allowed for a successful run program. Mrs. Bergeron has been a technology leader, gaining additional training and serving as a building and district mentor for programs such as the Schoology implementation, Power School alignment, and IXL classroom practices. Mrs. Bergeron serves as a district new teacher mentor. She has done this for many years, whether it is within her building or outside, due to her leadership skills and positive dedication to the district. She provides guidance in areas such as curriculum alignment, how to utilize meaningful instruction, and organizational strategies that are helpful for classroom management. She also conducts a before-school math class for both 4th and 5th graders, struggling in content area math standards. Students report this class to be helpful in making them feel better about the material. One of her students recently wrote that Mrs. Bergeron is very sweet, and we always enjoy working in her room. She has a fun way of teaching. She makes learning understandable. She also makes us know how important things are, like being kind and responsible. She is a great teacher. Please join me in a round of applause for Anna Bergeron, Anchor Bay Elementary School Teacher of the Year.
And if you two want to join us
Yep.
over here, we can rush the board up. We'll get a picture with you guys, if you don't mind. As I mentioned, we're going to take a 5-10 minute recess here, celebrate our teachers and our students. So feel free to join us. I think there's some cookies over on the table, which we all clearly need. And we'll reconvene in about 10 minutes. All right, we'll reconvene after that short break. Again, congratulations to not only our students, but our teachers. Just a phenomenal job. And my kids had, I think, two of those teachers. And so I have a personal experience with them, and the award is completely appropriate. Moving on to the agenda, superintendent's update. Mr. Jankowski.
Okay, as Tim's pulling up basically what I want to do is take an opportunity. Most of you have seen this in the various subcommittees as we kind of walk through it. This is just a quick update for those of you that didn't get a chance. On Monday, just kind of running through the bond program and some of the proposed changes that we discussed. So security updates, just a lot of this we've shared before, but just kind of running through for everybody. We've updated access controls, staff IDs. We now have a door prop alert system that's in place. So if a door remains open, depending on the door and the amount of time, it sends an alert to our security team, also sends an alert to the administrators. We also increased our lockdown button access. You can see a picture of the lockdown buttons that now are in every building and where they're at, so that, again, this will secure the exterior of the building. New exterior door locks, because we had a situation where the keys have been the same and they were different for every building, and really we had no idea who still had keys over all the years that we had those. So now, as part of the access control, everybody has their staff ID. And then the other portion of that is we changed the exterior locks in order to make sure that we have a secure exterior. We've done the risk and vulnerability assessments. We also have our dedicated safety team, and we are continue to expand our partnerships with local law enforcement. What's in progress right now, we have our radios, that's in progress. We have the repeaters up there. We haven't received the most up-to-date radios as of yet. Those will work with our cameras. So if something happens and it's alerted, it will also, if a door opens, then they will see it on the camera, which door opened, and it will show them. Updated our threat assessment procedures. That's a continual process. The state is going to revise the emergency operation procedures. So we're waiting on that new template in order to complete that process. Every year we do our active intruder response training with staff. We've also had in the past, you've seen the local authorities at our building. So we've had one at the high school, one at Great Oaks. We're working on emergency reunification procedures. We're looking at, we're building our school emergency and crisis team. So we've been sending people to training at first countywide. There was a limit to how many we could send, but now we're looking to bolster all of those. We're looking at weapon detection technology and bullet resistant window film. And I think I mentioned before in previous bond presentations. So in the new areas, like I'll show you the restaurant and so on. So those windows will have that built in already. And then we'll go back through for like main entrances and harden those areas going forward. And again, safety starts at the front door. We've also changed our policies for that to secure the vestibule and our visitor management system. And going forward, we're looking at some other technology solutions that would allow that. This will help with reunification. This will help with tracking our visitors. This will also help with parents tracking their students. We know in some situations where if there are after school events, we want to make sure we know who's in the building. And now with some of these, we'll be able to track students. So now parents will know, is that student at practice? Did they check in? Did they not show up? And they could track them potentially on the bus if that's what we want to, when they get on the bus, when they get to school, as they make changes. Construction updates, many of these you've seen before. There's some new updates. We're still on track with our new career pathways. And again, these are the 4. These are based off, the state has 6, but we've broken them into 4 to fit with the building. And this is just some of the other, as part of the career pathways at the high school. That's an example of one of the card readers. And we have door contact alarms on pretty much every exterior door. And we completed the high school temperature controls, which is nice. So you can see this is actually what Corey sees as part of her thing. So she can actually tell the temperature of every single building. We've modernized all of that. And as part of these projects, we just received notice today from STEMCO. We will get a $120,000 rebate off of what we did, which is good. That'll go back into the bond funds because it's part of the savings of the bond. So it goes back into that. But we expect to see operational savings of between probably 10 to 15% on an ongoing basis now, because we can track temperatures and everything is modern now in temperature controls. Discussed this before, the gym floor, scoreboards, all of that has been updated, new lighting. We had new speakers go up outside on the football field as well. The storage building has really come along now that the weather has been very good. For a while there, the rain delayed them being able to get in there, but now that is done, so they can, that'll give us places to store things while they're working on the other construction areas. The fencing is complete over at the transportation garage. And we're still working through the different phases, so you can see kind of, we've discussed these numerous times. So the upper left-hand corner is the engineering wing. So then that is what you see, the construction has been going along. I have some pictures of that coming up. And then phase 2 is already underway as well. That's the yellow area. And then we have the red areas, which will be part of the phase 3 of the high school. And so these are the different programs that it involves. And these are some renderings. This is what the restaurant will look like. So, and again, these have been shared before. So this is the restaurant area. The biggest thing that we were looking for is more of a teaching kitchen. So it's open, people can see. People who are patrons of the restaurant will be able to see into the kitchen as well. So it gives better supervision and students can show off what they're doing. One of the things that you'll see tonight that is the furniture. So a lot of the areas of the bond, we're creating flexible areas. So one of which is our courtroom. So this is some of the furniture that is in the bid tonight that we're asking you to approve. And again, all of this is mobile furniture. So if we need to use it for something else, we can use it for a class. So it's not just taken up as a courtroom year round. This is each of the career areas. The offices will now be in the wings and they will have this collaboration space. And this, again, part of tonight is the furniture. That's part of it. And this is what it will look like. There'll be an open area for classes to collaborate, or students have to work on things and they can be supervised. The offices will overlook that. There'll be windows so that they can supervise people if they're out there, or teachers can bring their classes down and sign that out. This is the exterior construction. If you haven't been by there, they are really making quite a bit of progress. You can now see the well-defined areas of the new auto shop, the new restaurant, and so on. Interior way, so this is one of the wing offices. You can see, because for each of those we're putting in restrooms. Those will be in those areas. So that's what the saw cutting is for the floor, and those are those pipes. That's for you. There'll be 2 restrooms that will be there. This is from the health occupations area. So again, they're just moving walls and creating larger classrooms from what were once science labs are now going to be dedicated for the health occupations. And again, just more as they're running the plumbing, this is what they're running the plumbing through. And another part of the bond is our students get to participate, which has been great. So our construction classes go through every other week. They get to meet, walk through, see the progress. They get to ask questions. Why is this the way it is? What's the next step? Or the complications they ran into? So that's been very good. We've also had students participating in the design of everything, picking the way that the tile they want to run in the hallway and all of those things, some colors and kind of, because we color coded each of the wings now. And so they get to participate in that because they have interest in going to design careers. So the next phase, as we talked about, will be going into the red areas. That will be the athletic wing. That will be the offices. So counseling will be converted. As counselors and administrators are moved to the wings, then that will be our dedicated student success office. Some minor adjustments to the main office as well. And then our dedicated security room upon entry. As part of this, we're really trying to look at the future and try and get ready for this. So we know there's been some massive changes on the state level as things have come through. And again, I've shared this with you as when we first passed the bond, there's been 3 major changes. 1, early childhood legislation. Right now, that is slated to be phased in every year through 2027 for the 4-year-olds, and then 3-year-olds will be phased in after that is the plan. However, the governor at the state of the state and in her budget has put in for that to happen for the fall for 4-year-olds. Same thing. when we were going through the initial bond, enrollment was part of, we were planning to shrink, and that was part of where Lottie would kind of go offline at the end of, towards the end of the bond. And then the last major change was universal free and reduced lunch. It was a 1-year thing during COVID. And now it is in the budget to be a permanent fixture of the budget. And our kitchens are not built to handle the sheer amount of food that they have to produce. So so these are all three things that we have to, because the utilization study you can see on the right, based off of our data that we have. So our preschool, which we knew already was for our tuition-based program, didn't have enough space. Even after the addition, we were doubling that as part of the bond. And so even after that, based on the current projections, we would end up being 200% over capacity, over enrolled in there if we went to universal preschool. And we know that already the part of the problem why we were expanding preschool was because if students don't start here, it just becomes part and parcel of a parent's routine. And so half of those students tend not to come back. And so part of keeping our own students and doing that now, if it goes universal and it's basically free with no income caps, then we anticipate that would be it would be around 300 more students per age. So 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds. Likewise, our elementaries are already reaching maximum capacity. We went through this year and we carved out one classroom so that if we have any growth for next year, would be okay. And we've always planned on using McDonald as kind of the buffer back and forth as we stage things for the construction. So, but now it's just, if we continue to see the growth that we have, and I can tell you, we had our kindergarten roundup, and I know that we had a greater response already. That was last night than we were typically have had. We've already done the survey we had our preschool, the first go around for our preschool, and we did the survey online, and already that is running well ahead as well. And that's people for paid. We haven't gone through GSRP yet, so that's only through the tuition based. So the main thing is we're looking at where do we have the available space in that, and where do we have it where it's not going to be an extensive cost, because I know people talk about Sugar Bush, but part of the thing is the amount of money that we have and what we can do and stretch it so that we can create programs for everybody and have those classroom spaces. We wouldn't have the ability to bring up Sugar Bush to really commensurate with the other buildings, because we knew going in, we kind of stretched in order to get to the all of the elementaries. So now it's how do we create preschool space, and then how do we create that space in order to be commensurate across the board. So that's where we really, in order to handle those three issues, how do we kind of allocate things accordingly? So going into the bond, and you're familiar with most of these, like this came from strategic planning. So the number one thing is how do we facilitate one anchor bay in culture and so on. And a lot of that was elementaries were a little different, but mostly the middle school. The middle school had much different experiences in programs that were available. The one that always gets most of the parents is swimming. Why, if they're at South, they do not get the opportunity to have swimming. And that was just one of several programs. Increased educational opportunities, maintain small school atmosphere. And we knew, because when we were combining the schools, that originally like Ashley and Lighthouse was going to be somewhere in the upper 700s, and we were going to do an upper and a lower. Now, based off of the current enrollment in those buildings, they're both well over 400. So we'd be closer to 900 if we did that. Provide for project-based learning, as we just talked about with Anna Bergeron, and the competency-based, create spaces for all learners. I won't read through all of these. Lower operational costs we talked about with the energy efficiency, reduce the average age of our facilities, and reduce the average square footage that we are trying to maintain on an annual basis. So we have operational savings. We knew coming off of the bond and all the meetings that I did across the district that the mega elementary was a concern. We knew that the middle school concern, so we were planning on shuttling kids between, and we knew that people wanted us to find a purpose for Lottie Schmidt instead of mothballing that building. So what we've kind of taken these into account, and we went through probably 120 different scenarios. And so basically we figured out it comes down to about 3 questions. Do we, one, if we have available space at the middle school, do we adjust the grade level configuration in order to make use of that? Do we open McDonald? Because on the original bond, McDonald was, okay, they're going to expand 26 Mile. We knew eventually, we didn't know exactly when. And that was after the bond that we would look at opening McDonald. And then at that point, once the new early childhood building was at Lighthouse, we'd move administration into the early childhood building. Then the last question was, okay, based on the first 2 questions, there are some scenarios where it might make more sense to have Ashley as elementary school or Lighthouse as elementary school, because Lighthouse currently is our largest elementary by square footage. So we walked through each of these. There were reasons to consider each of the questions, and we asked for kind of feedback from people. Are there things that we're not thinking of? Are there things that we needed to take into account, logistics and things like that? So we got feedback from our stakeholders in that meeting. Basically, same thing with opening McDonald and same thing with Ashley and Lighthouse. And this is kind of our flow chart for the decision-making of all the different scenarios. So it really comes down to about 8 different scenarios that we're working through now, because it was just impossible to kick the tires and do everything on all different scenarios. So this is kind of what we're working on. Can we handle those? The feedback that people have, one of which is, we're going to have 5th and 8th graders on the same bus. We'll work through that to try not to have that happen logistically. Or again, everything kind of becomes, we were going to bus kids anyhow between buildings, between the 2 middle schools. So where does that kind of fit in and how does that work in order to, again, adhere to those initial plans? Again, depending on scenarios and depending on everything we have, there are things we can do additional middle school CT enhancements because there are some potential savings on these. Add further elementary programming enhancements. Science lab, one that I know the elementaries, since we started the science program, that want better dedicated science labs, more infrastructure improvements, and then potentially additional programming improvements at Great Oaks and McCants. Originally, those 2 buildings were only getting improvements at the media centers. So we are going to have building level bond meetings. This is the schedule. We just set this today. So again, basically after spring break, we'll put out a frequently asked question. We'll also have a newsletter going out, and then we'll meet at basically each building and kind of do exactly what we did for the initial bond, talking through all of these scenarios and how it looks from each area in order to gather information. So that will run through May. We also put out, there's a special email just for the bond if people have input, so they can respond there. Any questions on any of this?
I have 2. With the meetings that you're talking about with the schools, are those going to be during the day or are those going to be evening?
All of them will be 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah,
All right.
same as we did before.
All right. And then the other question I have, with the access controls at the high school, did we do access controls pretty much at like north, south, east, and west, like the main most popular entrances?
So Corey and our bond team walked through with every principal in order to get the input on what doors that they wanted, what made the most sense based off of staff use and so on. So it really depends on the building.
All right. So the decision was primarily made with the principal and Corey.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I would imagine that's gonna be posted on the website.
Yeah, we literally just set this at the end of the day today because we had our principals meeting yesterday and I said, okay, give me dates. And then as they were coming in, I said, okay, your dates are running out. You need to pick a date. We tried to time with the, as much as possible with the parent group meeting at each building. So that they would be, because that's what we did last time as well. So I believe half of these are at the elementary are with the parent groups at each building.
I had a parent share with me kind of a offhanded comment that they hope that we announce, promote, and remind parents of these bond level meetings as hard as we reminded them that they wanted to pass the bond.
And we will, we're sending out the newsletter. We'll send out our social media and all of that as well.
Anyone else? Any comments, thoughts, questions, concerns?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will move on to hearing of the public. Those who wish to address the board on agenda items may complete a brief request stating their name, address, and the subject of their comments. Remarks about specific employees should be directed to them personally and not included in the public forum. Administration will follow up with concerns within 48 hours of this board meeting. So I have two requests to speak tonight, and I am pretty sure that I am not going to say this right. So I'm just going to go with Chris because I don't think I'm going to get the last name out quite correctly. I told you, Angela, it doesn't get any easier as you get older. You had the courage, though, to try it.
March 1st, I've heard a lot of rumors from a lot of different people. And I don't like to listen to rumors, so as a building rep, I first addressed my union president, who gave me as much information as he had at that time. Maybe said, preschool, starting in fall, up to 3-year-old, the following year, the district making adjustments in enrolling with the nothing is set in stone. It's posting vision that we have here of what will work and what won't work. And that includes moving 5th grade to middle school. I think for myself, I'm just wondering, at what point is someone going to come and talk to the staff instead of us having to hear it from the community? So that, I mean, that was very frustrating. And especially as a union rep in my building, that I'm hit with questions that I have no answers to. And it was rather embarrassing. And I just felt like I didn't belong here in this district. And I know you don't have all the answers, and I don't think I'm looking for all the answers, but I am a teacher that's going to be directly affected by this. And I know some other teachers that I've talked personally with, we're also concerned with, is 5th grade going to change? Are we still going to be self-contained? Are we going to be treated like a middle school? If we are going to be treated like a middle school, does that change in the certifications that we have? What if some 5th grade teachers don't have more content specific enforcement? You know, what is going to happen with that? And I know the process of, you know, our publications, but I think when you don't come to you, the one who is going to meet people, move like this for another building, we go a long way of change or change. You look at me,
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming by tonight. Appreciate the feedback. And then the other request I have to speak is from Miss Jameson. Thank you, ma'am. We will move on to communications. Mr. Jankowski, do you have any communications you want to share?
Yes, we actually have the two letters and I only had one copy of them, sorry, so. We had a couple board members that earned some awards.
We do.
With their
Apparently,
MASC.
we have two board members that attended some classes last year. So we received a letter from the Executive Director of the Michigan Association of School Boards recognizing Ms. Knox and Mr. Vendatelli for Ms. Knox for a data skills specialty class, a certified board member award, and award of merit, and Mr. Vendatelli for the certified board member award as well. So Jill, I guess you put your money where your mouth is because we talked about this a year ago. And I mean, it's awesome. I think it's awesome that you stepped up and that we received the letter. You said there was 2 letters. Is there something else that I
Well,
missed?
they're for both of them.
Oh,
yes,
one
yeah.
for, one for each.
Yeah.
So congratulations, guys. That's pretty awesome. Thank you for your dedication, really. That takes care of communications, so we will move on to our consent agenda. In your packet, you would have received the approval of the minutes from the February 21st, 24 regular meeting, as well as personnel report, a financial report, and a bills payable from February of 2024. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it has been shared with you.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Burkmeyer, supported by Mr. Moses. Any comments, questions, further discussion? Hearing none, I will have my secretary there call the roll, please.
Ms. Burkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Mr. Vincentilli,
Yes.
Ms. Knox.
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. The next item for us to cover is new business. We've got a couple of issues and items on here. The first one is the MISD Budget Review Delegate. Each year, the MISD holds their budget review meeting, asking every school district to send a representative for a presentation regarding county services, programs, and budget review. This year's meeting will be on April 18th, 2024 at 6:30 PM at the Macomb Intermediate School District, room 100. The recommendation is that we nominate a board member to attend and then approve and then make approve that nomination. So I will open up the floor, I guess, for nominations of who would like to attend the budget review on April 18th, 2024.
I know that this is an extremely coveted position amongst the board members. However, I will happen to be right in that area at that time,
Oh, okay.
spending a few
Wow.
hours.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
So I don't mind taking that honor away from you guys.
Now, dinner is served along with some thrilling presentations.
Fantastic, Ms. Berkmeyer.
So with Ms. Burkmeyer's offer of going to the MISD, I will entertain a motion that Ms. Burkmeyer attends the MISD budget review on April 18th, 2024 at 6:30 PM and then reports back on what she learned with the rest of the board.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Motion by Mr. Moses, supported by Ms. Knox. Any further conversation? Anyone want to fight her for it?
Do we want to have a backup just in case?
Let's do that.
I would like to nominate Mr. Vendatelli as backup.
Makes sense, Treasurer.
It does.
Support.
Mr. Moses, are you willing to amend your motion? Ms. Knox, are you willing to
Second the
continue to
amendment.
support?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Vendatelli is our backup in the event that you are no longer in the neighborhood or somehow get distracted and don't make it to the meeting.
Right.
Okay, so if there's no further comments or questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Congratulations. Careful what you ask for. All right, our next is award recommendation for high school furniture. We do have Ms. Wiley here if there are any questions that need to be directed to her. The bond team has reviewed the furniture recommendation provided by NBS Commercial Interiors. It was also shared with all of you. It's 130 pages. Is that what it is? Something like that?
About 150.
Close to that.
Right over here with the tree. NBS Commercial Interiors has applied the E&I Cooperative Service Contract to their pricing. E&I Cooperative Services issues RFPs, properly advertises, evaluates, and awards bids. The E&I Cooperative Service Contract is awarded to Steelcase and authorizes NBS Commercial Interiors as its supplier. NBS Commercial Interiors is an authorized Steelcase preferred supplier. Anchor Bay District is a member of that E&I Cooperative, allowing the district to make purchases at the cooperative, thank you, pricing, which has been competitively bid, meeting all purchasing requirements. Cost includes furniture for areas in Phase 1 and Phase 2 at Anchor Bay High School, including but not limited to common spaces, pathway, offices, teacher workrooms, main office, graphic arts, culinary arts, and miscellaneous office and classroom spaces. This project is funded by the 2023 bond. The recommendation is that we approve the award to NBS Commercial Interiors, the contract to provide and install furniture as stated in the specifications, the amount of $494,953.16. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
No second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Vendatelli. Comments, questions? It's a lot of money.
I do have a question. It's silly, really. What kind of, I've seen like for the kitchen, we're going with the Anchor Bay colors, but then I saw in another schematic that everything was blue. I'm just wondering, are the pathways different colors?
Not on. All right, so yeah, the pathways are in their pathway color. So the design team, along with the student that Mr. Jankowski had mentioned, were part of that process to pick out colors that matched each pathway.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Anyone else? Comments, questions, concerns? All right, we have a motion on the floor and I will allow my secretary here to call the roll because it is a pretty substantial amount of money.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is a field trip. The middle schools, I believe both of them want to return to Washington DC as they've done for several years. Middle School North and Middle School South annual 8th grade trip to Washington DC, where the students will see and visit the elements and attractions of history and government firsthand. Middle School North will travel May 1st through May 4th of 2025. And Middle School South will travel May 1st through May 3rd of 2025. The recommended action is that the board approve the Washington DC field trip for Middle School North and South as presented for school year 24-25. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Moses, supported by Mrs. Knox. Any comments or questions?
Why are the dates different?
That was my question.
Yeah.
Just what each school set for their dates.
Are both schools flying again this year?
I believe so that they're.
I definitely saw some flight stuff
Yes.
in there and the cost, but I
Yeah.
guess I didn't drill
Yeah.
down far enough to see if
I
it was
believe
both.
they are. They would like to continue to fly, yes.
I believe they always usually do it on different dates, don't they?
But
Well, they're
it's the
one
same
cut,
day long,
same
one
day,
short.
one's cut
Yeah,
short.
they're both leaving at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, May 1 through 4 and May 1 through 3.
I'm guessing maybe it has to do with what those sponsors either wanted or what
Or
in
it could have to do
general
with different
they,
flights,
and cost
maybe.
potentially.
Okay, well, it's superintendent, if there's something other obviously that they need done, make sure they circle back to us because I'm sure we have the support. Is there any other questions?
I do have a
comments?
question. If by chance either school does not make the trip or both schools are not able to make the trip, is this 100% refundable to our students? Do we know?
They do, I believe, pay for some insurance, but there are like deadlines that you get a certain percentage back if you do it early. And then I think within a certain day, it rolls over to now it's a credit because they use the same company every year in order to do it.
Thank
I
you.
just have one more comment. If they're staying at the same hotel as they did 6 years ago, if somebody finds my son's brand new Columbia jacket that he left in DC, please bring it back.
All right. And the relationship we have with that vendor actually came into play when we had some issues with buses getting canceled and the trip nearly getting canceled. So I appreciate that we stick with that same vendor because we averted a pretty big cost mistake and almost missed our kids going because of the challenges. So
Would you also like to talk about the trip outside of Michigan? I know you're a big.
I haven't voted yet,
Okay.
but no, this is one that I have to accept because unfortunately Washington DC isn't coming to us. And quite frankly, after being a little time in Lansing, it's not quite the same thing as going to Washington DC. I'm sure you could probably empathize with my situation.
Yes.
All right, so motion's on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on down the agenda into our other category. We will begin with our board comments and points of pride. And I believe we're going to start with Mr. Moses tonight.
Wow.
How do you like that?
Usually going, okay. Hey, I deserve this. So, I would like to congratulate our teachers of the year, our student athlete, and pretty much everybody in the district that is working hard. I mean, I know we're doing lots of great things, and I'm just proud to be up here. So it's a great district. It's a great day in the Bay, as they say.
Mr. Vendatelli.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Mr. Moses said. Congratulations to 3 teachers of the year, Joseph Sakaro, excuse me, Julie Sheridan, Hannah Bergeron, thank you, as well as the student athlete, Thomas Westfall. Did I get that one right?
Yes, you did.
And just thank you for the hard work and congratulations.
Ms. Knox?
I was able to go to the community forum last week, and I was impressed by how involved our staff, our parents, and our community are. It's just really good to see everyone coming together, even when we have a difference of opinion, and I really appreciate that. Also, if you remember at the beginning of the year, we introduced our new high school principal, Mike McKenzie, and I put him on the spot and asked if he's very tall. If you guys haven't seen him, I asked if he was going to play in our scholarship basketball game. He did indeed last week play in our scholarship basketball game. He lost, but that's okay. And so I was there to see that. But my point of pride is something that the community probably doesn't even know about. We only recently found out about it. Is our pool needed some parts, and they're no longer available. And Mr. Black had his engineering students 3D print what we needed. And to me, I love seeing the kids out at the construction site just really finding practical uses for things and being able to apply their knowledge. And so kudos to Mr. Black and I forget who runs the pool right now, but bringing that together and showing our kids real world application for what they're learning and doing. So it's really cool.
That is cool. Ms. Burkmeyer?
Well, Ms. Knox stole my point of pride, so, but thank you to all of the people that we recognized here tonight in the community that came to support them, as well as Mr. Black and Greg Jones and Corey, who are helping maintain the pool. That got a fabulous review. And I think my only other board comment is, I know we do, of course, Teacher of the Year, which is pretty common amongst the school district. I'd like to maybe see or gauge the interest of doing some sort of Employee of the Year overall, just to engage our other, I think we all agree we have a lot of dedicated employees. It may not be teachers and staff, but if we can maybe add other departments, whether we break it down by departments or kind of do an overall employee type situation, just kind of an idea that came to mind that maybe we can consider for the future.
Great. I agree. That'd be cool. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Green. I'm Lansing, so.
Everything's formal.
Yes. The career fair is tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. at the high school and is open to the public. Middle school baseball camp for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students is March 16th at the Sportsplex. I'd like to thank all the students and staff that participated in the senior scholarship basketball game. I do need to work on my half-court shot. I did win, but I didn't get the basket. So congratulations to Thomas Westfall tonight. And also, he's the individual champion on the 1600 meter run at the Michigan Indoor Track Series State Championship. Anchor Bay Softball Youth Clinic is Saturday, March 16th from 8 to 1 at the high school. Congratulations to a great season to the Anchor Bay varsity girls basketball team. It was great to watch you guys. Congratulations to the middle school North 7th and 8th grade band on the performance at the MSBOA Festival, the 7th grade Division II excellent rating in performance and a Division I superior rating in sight reading. The 8th grade received Division I ratings for superior in both. Also, congratulations to the middle school corps for their MSVMA Festival. The students earned a Division I rating, which is the highest score possible. My points of pride this month is our Teachers of the Year tonight. Ann Bergeron from Ashley, Julie Sheridan from Middle School South, and Joe Sakara from Anchor Bay High School. Thank you for everything you do for our school district.
So I echo the support for our Teachers of the Year. It's phenomenal to see how much effort that they put in. And actually, I ran into a group of our teachers on Friday of last week after hours. And it was great to see the camaraderie that they were having, the good time that they were having, talking about their days and the stressful situation they may have encountered on Friday. And there was a group of probably 15 or 18 of them. They're just having a good time, and they were definitely venting to each other. And of course, nobody wants to see the board president walk up to their table, so I made a very short appearance at that table. But as well as our Kaleidoscope winners and Thomas Westfall, it's great to hand out awards like that. I was at the senior staff game. I do understand that your shot, as I giggle, wasn't really much of a shot. So maybe we could get you into the high school for some, with the varsity team, and get you up to speed.
I'm ready.
But I did enjoy the event. I did enjoy our announcer, who was very good spirited with everything that was going on and how long things were taking to get through. But it was great for the fundraiser to see. It was a good time, and the seniors really beat up on the staff.
Yeah.
I mean, like 70-30. I'm just kind of shooting off the cuff. It was a blowout.
Yeah.
It was the kind of game that if it was the Pistons, you would have left at halftime. So not everyone did. I did see the shaving cream pies and some of the other fundraising activities that went on. So that was pretty cool. And then I guess my point of pride would be the wrestlers that were down as they are every year down at the Polar Plunge on Sunday, kind of acting as best as they can as security, trying to keep people off the beach. It's a bit of a challenge, but they do a great job. And every year I'm always excited to see them down there and see them working together to make sure everyone's safe down there. I believe that's all I've got on my list. Moving on down my agenda, I guess I'm looking for a legislative update, if anything.
There are no budget yet, unfortunately, that normally the House or the Senate should have theirs out by now. That's not out yet. There are two pieces of legislation that are kind of moving. Finally, the safety legislation that was introduced had hearings this week. So we're expecting, hopefully that will hit the floor at some point in time. And then there was another bill to mandate kindergarten. Right now, most people don't realize this kindergarten is optional. And you don't have to go to school until first grade. So this would mandate it. Would not make a huge difference for our district. But there are some districts that have as low as 50% enrollment for kindergarten. So this would, again, make that mandatory for the first time. And that's it.
I'll kind of add to your conversation, your comment about safety. I had a phone call with Jamie Green, representative here in Macomb County. She's really kind of spearheading the whole safety security and mental awareness thing that's going on in Lansing with some of these bills. Very, very passionate. It was a great conversation. And a lot of the things that I see in what we're already doing are in some of these bills that are coming forward. So that really tells me that our hire of Mr. Pape was an excellent hire, that, and, you know, certainly with the bond and everything else that's going along, that we are really ahead of the curve versus many other districts in the state that are waiting for these bills to be passed to direct them to do something, and we're already doing it. So that's great. I like to see that. Board committee updates. Do we?
No, there was policy, but that's been postponed.
Okay. So next is to move into a closed session. Closed session will be pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8C, collective bargaining agreement, and review written opinion from legal counsel pursuant to 81H of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.2681H. So I will entertain a motion to go into that closed session at this time.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion before we do that to add an item onto the agenda.
All right, Mr. Vinatelli, what are you looking at and where do you want to add it?
I would like to add an item after closed session to make a motion to direct the superintendent to end negotiations with China Link.
All right, so that would be item number 3. We already have 2 items that I would expect some either discussion or a vote on after the closed session. This would be item number 3. And that is let me make sure I got this right, motion to end contract discussions.
That
with
is
China
correct.
Link.
To direct the superintendent to end negotiations with China Link.
All right. All right, so I don't have a motion on the floor yet for the closed session, so let's backtrack then. And so Mr. Vinatelli has made a motion. Do I have a second to add that as bullet point number 3 for after our closed session?
I'll support.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, sir, can you call the roll?
Sure can. Mr. Vinatelli,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a no, Mr. Green.
Yes. Okay, so the motion to modify the agenda, we have now, Mr. Vinatelli, inserted number 3 onto there. So I will circle back again to trying to get a motion to go into closed session. And I'm going to read it again, just because pursuant to OMA Section 8C, collective bargaining agreement, and review written opinion from legal counsel pursuant to 81H of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.2681H. Is anybody willing to make that motion to go into closed session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right. I've got a motion by Mr. Moses and seconded by Mr. Vinatelli. Any discussion? All right, so again, this is a motion to go into closed session. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
Yes, I will. Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatelli,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
and Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes. So at this time, we will go into closed session. I have 8:36 PM. Again, I do have a couple of now 3 items that will be discussed after the closed session. All right, I will entertain a motion to go back into open session at 10:24 PM.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Mr. Moses. Any conversation? Call the roll.
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatelli,
Yes.
and Mr. Richards is a yes. And Mr. Green.
Yes. All right, motion carries back into open session. The first item on the agenda after open session is the ABEA tentative agreement. I will entertain a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement as presented that has been entered into and signed by both Jamie Petron, president of the ABEA, and Superintendent Phil Jankowski.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Motion by Mr. Vinatelli, supported by Ms. Knox. Any discussion? Since this is a contract, we will call the roll again, sir.
All right, motion by Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Congratulations, Phil, Jamie, all of our teachers. Appreciate your hard work on that. Next is item 2 of our subtopics here after the closed session is a tabled motion from our previous meeting on new course approval. We tabled new course approvals from 2/21 of 24 board meeting for the weight training and fitness for girls, fitness education for girls 9th grade, and team sports for girls. The recommended action is that the board not approve the new courses. Oh, so I want to take it off the table, then I'll need a motion to take it off the table and move it back to a vote for tonight.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Mr. Richards, supported by Ms. Berkmeyer. Let's call the roll again.
Mr. Richards is a yes. Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
And Mr. Green.
Yes, motion carries. So I'm going to move this back to our agenda so we can talk about it. Again, the tabled new course approvals from 2/21/24 board meeting were the weight training and fitness for girls, fitness education for girls 9th grade, and team sports for girls. The recommended action from administration is that the Board of Education not approve these new courses. I will entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion to not approve
Second.
those courses.
Motion by Ms. Berkmeyer, supported by Ms. Knox. Further discussion? Comments? Questions? We're gonna vote on this one too, sir.
Sounds good to me. Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 3 that was added to our agenda here right before the closed session by Mr. Vendatelli. The motion was to direct the superintendent or his designees to end contract discussions with ChinaLink LLC. So, Mr. Vendatelli, since you put that on there, I'm assuming that you wish to make a motion to that effect.
That is correct. Yes.
Do I have support?
I'll support.
So a motion by Mr. Vinatelli, support by Ms. Berkmeyer. Again, direction to the superintendent or his designee is to end the contract discussions with ChinaLink. Comments or questions or concerns? So the reason this is on the agenda as a directive to end contract discussions is that back in a previous meeting, we authorized the superintendent to begin those discussions. No additional comments? All right, I guess I'll make one. I personally can't support the ChinaLink program in our district at this time. There's numerous reasons for that. A lot of it has to do with ChinaLink's past behavior, not only in this district, but in other districts here in Metro Detroit. And I don't think that at this time today, that I want to be involved with that process again. That doesn't mean that it is off the table for me in the future, but it is not something that I believe that I could support at this time.
I guess I'll jump in here too. I'd like to echo your sentiment as well. For me, a large portion of that is the idea that we're going to take state taxpayer funding for this program to educate foreign students. That to me is unacceptable. So at this time, I am also think we should end negotiations with ChinaLink.
Anyone else before we move on this motion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Richards, would you please call the roll?
Motion, since it's a.
Yeah, the motion is to direct the superintendent or his designee to end contract discussions with China Link LLC. I guess I could have thrown in there for the 24-25 school year to be a little bit more clear. So I will throw that in
You
there
can't change the motion.
if you will agree to that
Agree to that.
and the supporter will agree.
No.
Okay, we're gonna stick with the original motion. Did you have any other questions, ma'am? Back to you, sir.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
No.
Mr. Moses,
No.
Mr. Richards is a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. At this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:30 PM.
Second.
Or whatever.
Motion by Ms. Knox, supported by Ms. Berkmeyer. And we're actually gonna do a roll call vote for this one too. Then I'm sure everybody got their opinion in before we
Made the
ended this
motion.
meeting. Ms. Knox and Ms. Berkmeyer.
All right. Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mr. Vinatieri,
Yes.
Mr. Richards will be a yes, and Mr. Green.
Yes. Meeting ends at 10:31 PM.